Good morning, everyone that might be listening to this. I'm Jack Shelley, and I'm here with Vince Quinn, who is pretty awesome. He was on the radio, 90 radio station 94.1 WIP for a while, and then he started doing his own podcast, The Bell and the Birdman. So thank you for joining me here today, Vince.
Yeah,
Pleasure to
Jack,
have you.
it's an honor, my friend. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So the first thing, we figured to get right into it. The first question I was going to ask you today, it's about the Phillies. I know they're both injured right now, but when they're both healthy, who do you think should have the fifth starting position? Taijuan Walker or Spencer Turnbull?
Ooh, that's a tough one for me. I mean, so far at this, thinking at this. How about this? First off, who do you like first? Who is your favorite?
Personally, me, I'd rather see Spencer Turnbull because he just pitched better than Taijuan Walker. But then again, we are paying Taijuan Walker $18 million a year, so.
Well, yeah, it's. But here's the tough thing, right? That's what gets complicated when you talk about contracts, because a lot of times, what happens with teams is they want the guy who they're paying a lot of money to be the better player, but there's plenty of times where that's not. And it's not the case. So the complicated spot that you get in is, well, you have a player that you paid all this money to, and especially as a general manager, you have to be willing to accept that guy was a mistake, or the contract was a mistake, or at least for what the value is supposed to be, you're not getting that value, and you just have to deal with it for the idea of, hey, you need to win games, right? Like the best thing for the Phillies, I mean, and this is how baseball works so often, right, is you see these teams get better and grow and keep having these opportunities. You get these windows where you really build into being a championship team. And for the Phillies, they're clearly that, right? Like I mean, for the last couple of years, what they've been able to do has been incredible. I mean, the city is totally on fire for the Phillies and has been for the last couple of years. So you want to get back. You got to get the best guy in there.
Yeah. Then the other question I was going to ask, I have a few more about the Phillies, but 2022, we didn't expect them to go very far in the playoffs, and they made it to the World Series. 2023, they made it to the playoffs. We all thought they would make it to the World Series and win. This year, they're playing so good in the regular season, they make it to the playoffs. Is this year World Series or bust?
I think it absolutely is, right? It has to be.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you just look at how everything works, right? And seeing the small injury to Bryce Harper, it's a small thing. He'll be back like very soon. But when you think about your windows of opportunity for the Phillies, I mean, they've wanted this for a long time. Their whole franchise has been built around Bryce Harper. He's an absolute superstar. They have the best record in the league. Like, they have all the expectations now. So I think for, it's not just as a fan as that the expectation of should it be World Series or bust, but I think every single player really feels that way. I think sometimes players talk about it, and what they'll say is, oh, yeah, no, it's definitely World Series or bust. But deep down, they're okay. If they make it to the playoffs and they lose, they're okay. But to me, I think they're World Series or bust. So what do you think? Is this a World Series or bust season?
I definitely think it is. Last year, I think if they made it to a World Series last year, which they definitely should have, I think they beat the Texas Rangers. And they should have won last year. But they didn't. And this year, they're off to a better start than they have been since, I think, 2011 or even, I think, 1993 maybe even.
Yeah, it's been a long time since they've been this good. Usually they get hot late, and that's when it was, well, they weren't any good when Gabe Kapler was manager, but yeah, they would always be good for a while, and then they would fall off a cliff when they had Gabe Kapler managing. So that was Phillies baseball,
especially in September.
Yep, they were always a mess then. And by the way, Jack, are you wearing a Phillies jersey right now?
I am. I'm wearing my Bryce Harper. My Bryce Harper.
There you go.
I've won a City Connect jersey, but they're pretty expensive. So.
Yeah. Who would you get if you could get one? Who would it be?
Harper.
You get a second Harper jersey. I like it. Why is Harper your guy? What do you love about him so much that you want two jerseys?
I don't know. I just really like Bryce Harper. Like the way he plays, he hustles. And I always he just hustles the entire game, no matter what. And I always try to do that too when I'm playing sports. And it's also, he's a lefty, he bats lefty, and I bat lefty. And he throws right-handed, and I throw right-handed.
There you go. So I'm talking to the next Bryce Harper right now is what you're saying.
Yeah. I actually probably more of a Chase Utley since I play second base.
All right. Well, once you make the pros, I'm buying your jersey, all right?
Yeah. And then I think my final question, what do you think the Phillies should do, if anything, at the trade deadline to make their team, to just make the team overall better?
Yeah, I don't think you need to force anything. For the quality of the team that they have, I think sometimes people get panicky and they'll overpay and get, just like, oh my God, we have to go over the top. Let's just throw everything we have at a certain player. And when that kind of thing happens, I think sometimes it messes with the locker room, right? It can either be, oh, here's this big personality, or just you get rid of a guy that everybody in the locker room likes, and then it messes with kind of the chemistry of everybody. So you don't have to do too much. Everybody knows what the expectations are. They've been around for a while. They do like each other. They're hitting a lot of home runs. Like everything is good. So you don't have to do too much, but and that's the value of being in that position. So as a general manager, you can look around the league and say, okay, well, is there an opportunity here or not? And if you don't like the value, you don't have to do anything. At least to me, I don't think they have to do anything. But what do you think, Jack?
I don't know. I think I'd like to see at least one more arm added to the bullpen. Like if they could trade Gregory Soto, because he's just been so underwhelming the few years that we've had him, to add like another solid arm to the bullpen that doesn't need to be like great, but we know he won't give up big runs in big innings.
Mm-hmm.
Like
that
Soto
is always
or
terrifying.
Dominguez.
I mean, it's been a long time, but I've always been terrified of the Phillies bullpen. They've had so many years where they've just blown all these big games that it breaks your heart. So I totally get it.
I said to my sister in Game 5 of the 2022 NLCS, after that top the 8th inning, I was ready to go out there and kill Sir Anthony Dominguez. I was so mad at him because he just blew that lead, or top whichever inning that was. He just blew that lead, and I was so mad at him. But then we get one of the greatest moments in all of Philly sports history.
Right, amazing, yeah. And
Bryce Harper hitting that home run,
magic, absolute magic. So I totally get it. I totally get it. But I mean, everything worked out in that moment, so it was all okay. But that's happened a lot with the Phillies, where the bullpen would give up like 8 runs in a game, and they would have to score 9 to win.
I think I didn't really see what happened last night, but it sounded like the pitching kind of blew the game.
Yeah, I didn't get to see last night either, so I don't know.
Yeah. I was at baseball practice. So.
Okay. Being Chase Utley out there.
Yeah.
There we go, my man.
Yeah. So, and then I guess moving to the Eagles, they've last year towards the end, it was pretty disappointing. The way it ended, it looked like they were gonna make it to the Super Bowl, and that just didn't happen. So, what do you think they need to do this year to make it to the Super Bowl? And if anything, are they Super Bowl contenders this year?
Yeah. So, you know what, Jack? They already did the biggest thing. They got rid of the coaching staff. They got rid of all those guys. Sean Desai, Matt Patricia. Like, they changed all that stuff up. And that was the biggest change that they needed. Their coaching stunk, my friend. It stunk all year long. Yeah. I knew it. Even when they were winning games, I thought they were bad. And now it's at a point where, you get all these different people in. Vic Fangio is great. We'll see with Kellen Moore. I think it's going to be better than what they had last year.
Yeah, the defense.
Yeah, so I like what they've got going on now, and I think that was the biggest thing. They've got talent everywhere. They're still a really good team, but I think their coaches were just really bad, and the team was so good that it covered it up, and they still got 10 wins or 11 wins and made the playoffs.
So, can you hear me?
I certainly can hear you.
Okay. My microphone, it's not coming up. It's saying browsers preventing recording. So
Interesting.
I
So
got
it's
nervous
showing
there
up.
for a
It's
second.
showing up on my end. Let me look here. USB audio. Yeah, everything seems to be good on my end.
Okay. Okay. I just wanted to make sure real quick there.
Yeah, you
Um,
sound good to me.
but yeah, the coaching staff was big. Like Matt Patricia just is terrible unless he's on the Patriots. Um,
Mm-hmm.
he's just not good unless he's on the Patriots. And then, yeah, I think what we need to see this year is more of Jalen Hurts running the ball. Because when he ran the ball, he was unstoppable. And that's a big part of his game. And it's not so much throwing the ball, it's running the ball. And
100%.
I'm just happy. I'm excited to see Saquon Barkley. Because I'm
Mm-hmm.
a Penn State fan. I like
Oh,
Penn
Penn
State.
State
So,
fan. Okay.
yeah, I have a Penn State pennant up here in my room. It's not in the frame, but
Okay.
yeah,
Do you watch them a
my
lot?
dad
Are you
likes
watching
to.
on
I have a
Saturdays a lot of the time?
Penn State train.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Me and my dad will watch and then the Nittany Lion right here. But yeah, me and my dad will watch uh Penn State games every Saturday if we can.
Yeah.
Because he went to Penn State and I plan on going to Penn State. So
There you go. All right. Well, good luck on that
yeah,
journey, my friend.
yeah. So the Eagles, I think this year they need to make it past the first round of the playoffs and not collapse like they did last year. Because even though they made it into the playoffs, we had I did not think they were going to do anything in the playoffs. I was like, well, maybe they have a chance, but once that first game started, I was like, nope, nothing's happening.
No, they were cooked, my friend. I knew at week 6 of the season that they were cooked. It was
Yeah,
just a matter of time. It was low and slow in the oven, but that bird was
yeah,
cooked. So yeah, they had a hard time. I think they did everything they could. Again, I think the players are great. I think they've just got
yeah.
great talent all over the place, but
AJ
it wasn't
Brown.
there. So they made the right moves. I mean, it's the coaching staff and then everything they did with the draft, the secondary, like all those different things.
Yeah,
They made a lot of really good moves. So I think they're going to be awesome this year.
the draft's always a big part. Like Howie Roseman, he's a great GM, but sometimes the draft is a little hit or miss. Like
Mm-hmm.
whatever they got.
It's hard, and that's why he's always
Yeah,
big on, hey, let me get as many draft picks as I can and make all those trades and everything else that he likes to do because you
yeah.
gotta take as many shots as you can on talented players.
So I didn't plan it, but it just happened recently. The Flyers, Mitchkov is finally over here from Russia. I think that's really big
Mm-hmm.
for next season because of the way last season ended. Um, I think the way last season it was a lot like 2022, the Phillies, how they looked like they were going to make it into the playoffs, and if they made it into the playoffs, we were okay with it because they stunk 2 years ago. Like they were
Mm-hmm.
really bad. And
Yeah.
then maybe who knows what happened. But that's big. I think hopefully he doesn't end up like the goalie that came over and he was not that good.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and
So
that's hockey's tough because you get guys that are so young, and when you're playing as a 19,
yeah,
like that happens in the NBA too. If you're a really young guy, it could be really hard to get adjusted and build yourself and have confidence. That's a hard thing to do. And
yeah,
you just got to hope for the Flyers. Like he's in a good environment. Everybody there, they understand that they're not trying to win right away. They have some good players. They don't have to worry about him like totally turning the franchise around right away. It's not like Connor McDavid, and I mean it took him a long time to be
yeah,
in the Stanley Cup and everything that he's done. So so I think he's in a good situation. It's great that they got him here so early. I think that says good things about the Flyers that he was willing to do that. So Keith Jones, my guy, love Jonesy. Used to work with Jonesy,
yeah.
dude. Happy for him that they got him over, and just hoping that they get better next season because they're not one of those like the Phillies. We talked about them being all in. The Flyers are not that team, so you
Yeah.
just want to see them get better.
Yeah, it's the start of the Danny Bree era. Um, even though that's not the start technically. Um, but and then another thing that just happened recently was the NBA draft. Many, people thought maybe the Sixers would try and take Bronny and hold him hostage for draft picks, but that didn't happen. Um, I don't know if you know too much about the two players, but what do you think about how the draft went for the Sixers?
Yeah, so I looked a little bit into the guy that they got in the first round from Duke, and I'll say this: the thing that stood out the most to me is he's got over 3 million followers on TikTok. I mean, it's
That's a
crazy.
lot.
That's crazy. So he's got a lot going on. Clearly he is talented and likable. So as
Yeah.
much as I love Tyrese Maxey, I guess this is like Tyrese Maxey all over again. So I will
Yeah.
take that. I'm happy with that, and hopefully he's a good player. But as I haven't looked too deep into it, but that's the most that I've been able to see. So what do you think, Jack? What do you make of the pick?
I when I first heard it, I was listening to the radio at like 11 at night. So I don't know. I hope it's like Tyrese Maxey and how he plays, because Tyrese Maxey's just a hustler too. Like
Mm-hmm.
he'll go hard after every play the entire game, and he just never seems to run out of energy. So if we can get another player sort of like him, even like assist Tyrese Maxey with playing the game, or even so he doesn't have to play as much, so he can get rested and he's not as tired after games. So hopefully something like that, and hopefully that he can finally help the Sixers make it past the second round.
Someday.
Which,
So
which is
someday they'll get past the second round. I don't know if it's
eventually.
anytime soon, but I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah. The second round and the Celtics one day.
Yeah.
One day. Um so that's now I figure we can get on to probably one of the hardest questions, I think. Like, because there have been so many great players, of who you think is the greatest Philly sports player of all time.
Oh, I think we are watching that guy right now prove why he is the
Really?
greatest Philly sports player of all time, the guy that I have in mind. And it's not just because of the career that he had, but it's the career that he's building, and it's Jason Kelsey. Jason
Jason
Kelsey.
Kelsey.
And I never thought I would say that. I was a diehard Brian Dawkins guy. That was my guy. All right. When I was your age, I wanted all the Brian Dawkins jerseys. That's where I was at.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, so Jason Kelsey is the man. Played for forever with the Eagles. Played really almost every
Yeah.
snap of every game. Won all of these, all these big accomplishments, playoff games, all pros, doing it late into his career. Team leader, Super Bowl winner, one of the greatest speeches you'll ever see in your life after the Super
Yeah.
Bowl. He's just got everything. Everybody loves him. He knows how to be out and about. He just does like things down the shore, and now he's got the podcast. So he's gonna have a whole other career like that. So Jason Kelsey to me is like there's great players, there's great players of every era is how I look at it. For different times, there's the greatest of that time. And I think for where we are right now, Jason Kelsey is the greatest Philadelphia athlete we've seen.
And he's got connections to the biggest pop star on planet Earth.
That's true. If he gets featured in a Taylor Swift song, I mean, it's hands down. That's it. I mean, what can you say? It's Jason Kelsey on.
He already has one studio album.
That's right.
The
Christmas album. We all loved it. So so he's got everything, man. He's got everything. That's my guy. I'm team Jason Kelsey. What about you, Jack?
So when I did the podcast for school, that was the topic I chose, and I had 4 guests on. I had my grandpa, my one dad's friend, Chris, my uncle, and my dad. And my grandpa said that it was Reggie White.
Mm-hmm.
My dad's friend, Chris, said it was Walt, what's his name? Oh my God.
Wilt Chamberlain?
Wilt Chamberlain.
Yep.
Yeah. And then my uncle said it was Allen Iverson, right? Yeah, I think he said Allen Iverson. I'm pretty sure he said Allen Iverson. And my dad said Mike Schmidt. So kind of have to go with my dad on that one because he just everything he's like I did. I never watched Mike Schmidt play, but everything he just said he did, he just has to be. It just makes sense.
Yeah, no,
it's so many gold gloves. Like he could field, he could hit the ball. He may have not been fast, but he had over 500 home runs. Not many players do that. He won the World Series. That's big. That's always a thing when you talk about the greatest player of anything. Did they win a championship in their respective, and like with Tom Brady, he never becomes the greatest of all time if Jude Bledsoe never gets hurt. He never gets, he does eventually, but he doesn't then.
Yeah, it's a whole different time then.
Yeah. Someone else. There's, even in soccer, who knows, is Messi ever definitely the greatest of all time if he never wins the World Cup? But that's always a big thing, is the championship. Did they win a championship?
For sure.
And some of the greatest players of all time have won 6, like Michael Jordan or Tom Brady, he's won 7. But then sometimes even if you just win 1, that's the biggest step, is just winning that 1.
It means a lot.
That's always a big thing. And then the numbers and how you acted off the field and on the field, or on the ice, on the court, that all makes it up too.
And that's the biggest thing for me with Kelce. It's not just how great he was as a player, but off the field. As much as everybody loved him, the kind of guy that he was on the field, what he's just meant to the city overall, and what he'll continue to mean. I think by the time we look at him, by the time the Sixers get past the second round, so I'm thinking like 2060. So like that's
probably
35 years from now. Yeah,
that's a good estimate.
Right. So we'll look back on Jason Kelce then. The Sixers will finally be in the finals, maybe, and we'll say, he's just the greatest. He's the greatest of that time.
Definitely the greatest center. Definitely the greatest center in Eagles
No doubt
history.
about it.
Yeah. So, and then the next thing is the greatest sports movie of all time. I know mine. It's the movie Miracle. It's about the 1980 U.S. hockey team. And not even that, I've watched that movie more than 200 times. I love that movie.
Wow.
I have framed, it's an enlarged version of the Sports Illustrated cover from whenever, with them on it, hanging up on my wall, and they're jumping up and the flag and stuff. I like it a lot.
Well, why? What do you like about it that you watch it?
I don't know. It's hockey, underdog story, and it's also, I love history, and it's the Cold War era, and it's the USA, and they beat. No one expected them to win. 2 weeks earlier, they got beat 10-3 in Madison Square Garden. Then they go through the Olympics. No one expects them to win. And they go out and they stop the greatest hockey team on the planet that has been the greatest hockey team for 20 years. And it's just a bunch of college players that have really never played together up until this point. And some players didn't like each other. And before that, and then they bonded together just to beat the greatest hockey team on earth and America's biggest rival at that point. So,
yeah, that's a great argument. Yeah.
And then I just found out recently that some people think it was like, they think the Soviets threw the game on purpose. I found that out. I was like, there's no way that happened. That is just not true. So, but anyway, let's get back. What do you think is the greatest sports movie of all time.
I think the best sports movie of all time is A League of Their Own. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen it.
That's a good movie. I just
But
watched it recently.
there we go. It's a really good movie. And see, here's
Yep.
my controversial opinion, Jack. I'm giving you a controversial opinion on this show, all right? So you can book this right now. A lot of sports movies are not that good. And here's the problem,
that is
right?
true.
They focus so much on the sports element, but they're not good movies. You know, you want story,
Yeah.
and you want jokes, and you want great acting and drama, and they don't. It's got some of those things, but it's never quite as good as I want it to be. When you watch all these other movies, I love movies. I've watched a lot of movies, and I can't say that there's many that are actually great movies. I think there's, within sports, there's good sports movies, but it's almost like I'm admitting that these sports movies aren't as good. So for movies that aren't as good, this is one of the best. But A League of Their Own is a great movie. Miracle is a great movie. That's a great pick by you. I love that. So League of Their Own, very funny, great story, everything around World War II. Tom Hanks is in it. Madonna's in it. The cast is really good and funny. I just think that's an awesome movie, and sports people don't always bring it up, and that drives me nuts because I do think it's absolutely great, and I love it.
Yeah. I know I asked my dad this question a few days ago, and he said Rocky, which I thought is a good choice too. Because that itself is almost like an underdog story too. It's like this guy, and he's like, I don't know, I forget. I haven't really watched the movie in a while, but he doesn't end up winning, which is rare in most movies or even sports movies, which happens in A League of Their Own too, because they don't end up winning in the end, and you want them to win, but they don't. Same thing happens in Rocky. He doesn't win in the end.
Yeah, and that's part of the drama. That's one of the things that sports movies do well from time to time is the team loses and it's still a good movie, and it's it doesn't hurt the movie that they lost. So I do like when that happens. But yeah, Rocky is great, and then obviously you get all the other movies that come out of it. Rocky 4 is completely crazy and fun. Creed, I saw the first Creed movie.
Creed I haven't seen Creed yet.
Yeah, I only saw the first one, but it's really good.
I've seen some of each of them because like they show it on TV. So I've seen some of each of them. Like there's some movies that I've seen, but it's like I've seen the entire movie, but I haven't watched it fully. Like I haven't sat down and started from the beginning to the end and watched it.
If you're looking for a movie night one night, I would say take some time and watch Creed. I think you'll like it.
Yeah. I was going to say, I don't even think I've watched A League of Their Own, like from the beginning to the end. I probably have, and I'm just not remembering it. But I've seen it on TV so many times that I've seen the entire movie.
Yeah, but it's a good one. It's underrated, okay? It's an underrated absolute classic, and I highly recommend it.
Yeah, my sister likes that movie because for a while, Alden didn't have a softball team, so she would play baseball. So she likes that movie because it's about girls playing baseball.
Yeah, there we go.
But yeah, but now she plays softball. So
okay, well,
and then
go ahead.
I just thought of another one. Just while we're, what do you think is your favorite sport to watch on TV? Like watching it, like, and you want to go to the game, but you can't. So you because I know I have a different one for TV and for actually at the stadium.
All right. So, I mean, my favorite sport in general is football. So watching it on TV, I watch that more than anything else. I just love football. It's the greatest thing ever to me. The other one that I really like, this is one that I don't watch it all the time, but when I do watch it, I absolutely love it. Formula One. Formula One is awesome. all the cameras on the cars, the way they zoom around the track. You get audio from the crews talking to the driver. Yeah. It is crazy what they do with that. I think it's super cool. And they do just an awesome job of making you feel like you're in it. So I really like Formula One. I think it's the best thing on television for sports.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever watched it, one, because I think a lot of the time they're on like early in the morning or later in the day, because it's like somewhere in Europe or somewhere across the world. So, but I know probably my favorite sport to watch. I know it's definitely my favorite sport to play. And my favorite sport to watch on TV is hockey, because it's just so fast paced and just like so energetic, and it just goes fast. And there's just a lot of things happening. Like there's checking and, the shots on net and the saves, even defensive plays. They're just amazing. And I know that's my favorite sport to watch on TV. And probably my favorite sport to watch like in the stadium is baseball, because Citizens Bank Park just gets so electric, even when it's not like a big game. Like I went with my school to see them when they played the Rangers here. It was the third game, and everyone was just so excited. And it wasn't even that big of a game. Like the Rangers aren't very good this year. And we went, and it was just amazing. And I went in 2022, I went to Game 5 of the World Series, and that experience was like nothing I've ever seen. Everyone was standing the entire game, and it was just so loud the entire game, but it was so loud and it was so awesome. And
it was
just amazing.
I'm jealous.
And we were this close to winning that game, but we did not win. The center fielder, Chas McCormick, he went to the same college as my mom. So we were this bit happy for him because he went to the same college. This bit.
But that's it. Nothing more. Nothing more. Just that.
Whenever we see him, if like the Astros are on and they're not playing the Phillies, we'll root for him and him only, because the Astros suck. Because they cheated.
That's right.
And that's it.
Get him.
Just him. Just like when we'd watch the Giants. If they're not playing the Eagles, let's go Saquon Barkley. That's it. No one else. You all suck.
I like it.
Because like if there's a guy we like, they're like, yeah, go you, but everyone else, we don't like you. Because you're just not you. Yeah. So.
Love it.
And then the one thing about the Eagles, I've heard on the radio, I don't know, they've on 94.1, they've been saying, I know some hosts they were saying, should we put Jalen Hurts on Wentz watch? Like, because of what happened after that Super Bowl, he just went like downhill from there. And that's kind of what we saw last year was with Hurts. He just was not as good as he was the past few years. So should we like be a little bit worried that he may turn into another Carson Wentz, or is it not time to worry yet?
Absolutely not, Jack. There's no reason to worry. Jalen Hurts is the man. He can play quarterback. He is not scared of his own shadow. But Carson Wentz turned into Punxsutawney Phil, right? He popped up. He's like, oh, my God. Well, that's scary. Let me crawl back into my hole for a while. And then we get sacked 10 times in a game. So, Jalen Hurts is not that guy. You do not have to worry. People who are worried about him are crazy. He played through an injury. The coaching was terrible. And he still got them to 10 wins, 11 wins into the playoffs. He is clutch. The guys love him. He brought in A.J. Brown, and he manages to keep him and Devontae Smith happy, which is not an easy thing to do, and he's done that. So he is the man. He is the best. We don't have to worry about him. He's a champ, and they're going to win a lot of games this year because of Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I remember last year during the Super Bowl, a week or two maybe beforehand, the Lions picked up Zach Ertz. So I was like, oh yeah, let's go Lions. I want them to win now. Because it was like I don't want the Chiefs to win because they're the Chiefs. And I don't want the 49ers to win because they're the 49ers. So I
Correct.
was rooting for everyone else. Like I was like, all right, let's go Ravens. And then the Ravens lost. I was like, all right, let's go Bills. And then the Bills lost. And
Yep.
then and then the Packers played the 49ers. Let's go Packers. Then the Lions played the 49ers. Let's go Lions. And then Super Bowl was, I don't know. I was like, let's go Jason Kelsey. Put him on there. Put him on the TV more.
Yeah, that was the only thing we could root for was Jason Kelsey at that point. So
Yeah.
to be shirtless, I think he was shirtless for
Yeah.
the game, wasn't
Yeah.
he?
They would like show show Taylor Swift, and then they would switch over to like where Jason Kelsey, and he was just like in the background, shirtless, drinking a beer.
That's what people want to see.
Complete opposite. It was like Taylor Swift, and then Jason Kelsey drinking a beer shirtless.
Well, one of those things is beautiful, and the other is Taylor Swift. So yeah, good for Jason. That's what America wants to see. We need more of that. Now that he's retired, we just need him shirtless, drinking beers at every game that he can go to. I think is the best way to do this.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the thing that stinks about Bryce Harper getting hurt is we're not sure, how long he's going to be out for. And he's been named the starting first baseman for the All-Star game. So, hopefully he's not hurt for too long, because it's like 2 weeks away, I think. Somewhere around there. 2 weeks away, and I'd like to see Bryce Harper start. So
yeah, it'd be fun to see him start in the All-Star game. He's earned it. The league loves him. Fans love him. I think fans of a lot of other teams totally get Bryce Harper and love what he's about. Plenty hate him too, and that's good too. It's good television. Everybody likes a villain. So yeah, it would be great to see him get that chance. It's another reason to shout out the Phillies and give some credit to the team. So you do hope to see him healthy. You hope to see him out there soon. And for the Phillies, because I got to run here in a minute, Jack. But before we wrap up this episode of the show, important prediction. Are the Phillies on their way to a World Series win right now? Yes or no?
It's going to be a repeat of the 2009 World Series. And unlike in 2009, they're going to win. And no matter if the Yankees are the home team, they have home field advantage. The Phillies are going to take one game in New York and win the other three in Philadelphia, finish it off in Game 5 with a gigantic rain delay, just like in 2008.
There we go. Calling the rain delay and everything. That is a professional right there. You'd love to see it. It's a great prediction. I'm rooting for the World Series, and I'm ready to go. So
awesome. And then the Eagles will hopefully be in the Super Bowl, and the Sixers will still be trying to get past the second round.
Yep. Yeah, they're going to blow it. I think we all know.
Yeah.
So you're
against
spot
the Celtics.
on, Jack. Spot on.
Yep.
So, all right, Jack, you want to close this out here? Thank the audience, and we'll wrap this one up, all right?
Yep. All right. Thank you for listening to this episode, and thank you to Vince Quinn for taking your time out of your day to join me here. This has been another episode of Sports on Elm. Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.